right, lesson 5.1 is rate of change and slope. Rate of change is equal to the change in the dependent variable divided by the change in the independent variable. So we can write rate of change in words using dependent and independent, or also the rate of change is equal to the change in y divided by the change in x. And this triangle is called a delta symbol, and it means the change in. So rate of change is the change in y divided by the change in x. Make sure you pause your video and copy these notes down. All right, so if you'll remember change in y divided by the change in x, that's how you find the rate of change. All right, in problem 1, we're going to find the rate of change using a table. And so first we're going to figure out what the difference is in our x variables. So from 1 to 2, we've added 1. From 2 to 3, we added 1. And from 3 to 4, we added 1. All right, and then I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to say 1040 minus 780, and I figure out that that's an increase of 260. Then say 780 minus 520, and that's an increase of 260. And 520 minus 260 is also an increase of 260. So my y variables are increasing by 260, or my y values are increasing by 260, and my x values are increasing by 1. So if I use the equation that rate of change is equal to the change in y divided by the change in x, then I'm going to use these changes, 260 divided by 1, because my y value is changing by 260 each time, and my x value is changing by 1. So that's 260 divided by 1. So the rate of change here is equal to 260. All right. Slope can be found by using the equation vertical change divided by horizontal change, which is rise over run. So you can find the slope by looking at rise over run. All right, and I'm going to show you how to find the slope using a graph by looking at some of these example problems from your homework. So let's start with this one. To find the slope, we're going to look at the vertical change over the horizontal change. So the vertical change, here I've got 2 points, and I'm going to create a triangle out of those 2 points. And it's also, we can reference this as rise over run. So let's do our triangle above. If we're going to do rise over run, it goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the rise is 7, and we go across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here the slope is 7 over 6. Okay. Now on this one we have a negative slope, and if you'll always start on the left and go to the right and do rise over run, so we went up first and then across. Well, here this one, if we connect these starting on the left and going to the right, we have a fall, which means we're going to have a negative slope because our rise is going to be negative. It's not going to be a rise, it's going to be a drop. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to be negative 4/5. It was negative because it was a fall instead of a rise. All right, let's look at this one. I'm going to start on the left and go to the right, so I'm going to go up and across. So my slope is rise over run, so I go up 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go across 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 over 4, which is 1. All right, start on the left and go to the right. I'm going to go rise over run. So I went up 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 3 over 8. Okay. All right, so that's how you find slope using a graph. All right, the slope formula, slope is equal to rise over run, which is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, the change in y over the change in x. So I'm going to show you how to find the slope using points. What is the slope of the line through the points -1, 0, and 3, -2? So I'm going to label these x1, y1, x2, y2. And then I'm going to use this formula to find the slope. So I'm going to say slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, y2 is -2 minus y1 is 0 over x2 is 3 minus x1 is -1. All right, -2 minus 0 is -2. 3 minus a -1, 2 negatives make a positive, so that becomes 4. And that's -2 over 4 simplifies to -1/2. So the slope here is -1/2. All right, slopes of horizontal and vertical lines. The slope of a horizontal line, like the horizon, this horizontal line, the slope is 0. Because you can sit a 0 on this line, and if it's flat, it's going to not roll off. It's like an egg. If you sit an egg up there, it's going to not roll off. The slope of a vertical line is undefined. This line goes up and down, and so that reminds me up and down. If I look at that U and D, that reminds me of undefined. So the slope of a vertical line up and down is undefined. All right, so let's work a couple of problems like this. What is the slope of the line that goes through the given point? So I'm going to label these x1, y1, x2, y2, and I'm going to use the equation slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 is 2 minus y1 is -3. x2 is 4 minus x1 is 4. 2 negatives make a positive. So 2 plus 3 is 5. 4 minus 4 is 0. And what's 5 divided by 0? Can't divide by 0. So this is undefined. So the slope of this line is undefined. Now if I want to double check that, I could sketch me out a little graph right here. And I could graph these 2 points. 4, -3 would be right here. And 4, 2 would be right here. And so that would graph a vertical line. And I know that the slope is undefined of a vertical line. All right, what about this one? Label this x1, y1. Label this x2, y2. Use that same equation. Slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 is -3 minus a -3. x2 is 5 minus -1. -3 plus 3 is 0. 5 plus 1 is 6. 0 divided by 6 is 0. So if I wanted to sketch this line, I would have 5, -3 is here, and -1, -3 is here, and that would be a horizontal line, and we know that the slope is 0. All right, so a summary of this lesson for slopes of lines. Any line with a positive slope slants upward from left to right. So the slope of this is going to be a positive number. If it starts on the bottom left and goes up to the upper right, that's a positive slope. A line with a negative slope slants downward from left to right, so the slope of this is going to be equal to a negative number. If it goes from the top left to the bottom right, that's negative. Anytime you have a horizontal line, it has a slope of 0, and any vertical line has a slope that is undefined.